What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Charter Podcast, brought to you by St. Xavier University. Ruthie Polinsky, Clay Harbor, Alex Shapiro, the Three Musketeers, back at it again. The three of us. Alex and Clay with a great episode on Monday. The three of us getting together. We have a little bit of time to recap what we've seen the last couple of days. We saw the pads come on. That's exciting. And we are going to break it all down today. A little bit of a lighter practice. Shells and shorts today went only about 90 minutes, I think, Alex. And it was less to take away from it, but I think there's still things we can unpack. We heard from Dennis Allen and Caleb Williams today. That's very always fun to dissect. So let's get into it, guys. Where do we want to start? Should we start with day 2 of pads? Let's start there. Some of our biggest takeaways, Clay, I know you were out there yesterday as well, getting a good look at, the trenches and the run game.
Perfect, Ruthie. I was hoping that's what you were going to say. We're the trenches, because that is what, to me and Alex Shapiro, we're watching over there. We got the nice side stands. The stands on the side of the field was just an amazing view. We got to see it. It was up close and personal. It was great. But to start in the trenches, just to dive right in, I was impressed with the offensive line. I really thought that they brought it. They were getting 3 yards at least, it felt like, every play. They were playing on the opposite side of the line of scrimmage. And for an offense, that's exactly what you wanted to do. And even when somebody maybe got in the backfield, I remember Monungai, DeAndre Swift, on 2 occasions, they would make the first guy miss and they would get 3 or 4 yard gain. And when Ben Johnson talks about EPA, the EPA per play, expected points added, it's just it's an analytic. It's an analytic to just basically say that you're staying ahead of the chains and you're being consistent every single play, right? And you're just consistently building yourself closer to scoring a touchdown. And for me, they showed they could do that. And I know we're going to dive into some specific players. Eventually, I'll let you guys give me your take first before we dive into the specific players. But overall, holistically, I was really impressed with what I saw with the offensive line, getting some pop, and really seems like this could eventually become one of the strengths of the Chicago Bears team.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. I think it was the most encouraged I've been with the Bears offense all training camp, and we're now 7 practices in, and it's what you want to see, right? When the offense, when the pads aren't on, the offensive linemen are at a disadvantage. They got nothing to grab onto. It's really hard to move a guy, right? And it's hard to evaluate them. But the pads went on. They looked effective, and there were good moments, right? There were good team period moments where completing passes to 𝗻𝗁, completing passes to DJ Moore. The run game looked good. So again, to me, most encouraging part for the offense. Now, they did have a rough 2-minute drill to end the game, but we're not panicking. It's still early, and the defense is kind of balling out as well. DA's defense has been impressive as well. So
I don't think Caleb got sacked there, by the way. I'm not trying to stop you. And that, looking back at it, I saw it on one of the fan videos on Twitter, and he didn't get sacked. He ran for that first down.
Because they moved the ball back.
They moved the ball back. So
what Clay's referring to is, so the Bears ran this 2-minute drill, right? It was 54 seconds. They needed a touchdown to win. They were around midfield. First down, he was flush out of the pocket, incomplete. Second down, flush out of the pocket again, incomplete. Third down, Caleb Williams scrambled, and it looked like he had the first down. It was 3rd and 10, looked like he had the first down. But they called it back, and they moved it back, and it set up a 4th and 15 play, which kind of, we don't know exactly what's happening. We don't know what they're going through, but it kind of looked to us like, oh, they must have called it a sack, or they must have called something to set up this 4th and 15. But Ruthie, it looks like you're about to jump in.
Well, it just you wonder if that's just a way for Ben to encourage Caleb to get rid of the ball. Like,
sure,
you can't hold on to the ball right there that long, otherwise you're going to get sacked, or we're working the clock. You got to get rid of the ball. Like those are just other things that they could be emphasizing there, being like, let's say that was a sack, to work that sort of distance or whatever. Or maybe they said like, hey, if you do take a sack, here's what we want. It's hard for us to know, really, until we hear from Ben Johnson again.
Absolutely. One more top level thing. One more top level thing that I love, just to kind of move it forward. We saw live tackling for the first time in years at Halas Hall. I don't remember if Matt Eberflus did it the first year. He did not do it at all. Okay, so no live tackling under Matt Eberflus, and this is new, and
it's controversial. A lot of coaches. You heard Dennis Allen talk a little bit about it today. Not everyone believes in it. You obviously are risking injury. That doesn't mean you can tackle the quarterback. Obviously, no one's touching the quarterback. But I think, Clay, obviously back in your day, that wasn't as controversial, right? But I think there's also an element of now with all the rules and all the the restrictions that come with, pads and how many days you can go and how long you can go. There are things to discuss. I think it's interesting that I think the Lions are a team that always do live tackling. And I saw that Aaron Glenn was doing some live tackling in New York as well. So there kind of seems to be a tree of the Dan Campbell proteges or whatever we want to call them who believe in this for whatever reason. And it'll be cool to ask Ben Johnson about it when we get a chance.
Yeah. I was all for it. For whatever it's worth, I was all for it. Because we've seen in the past, like the first few weeks of an NFL season, some sloppy tackling. And we've seen some sloppy football. And the only way to practice tackling is to tackle, right? Kyler Gordon seemed into it. Tremaine Edmonds seemed into it. And I think it not only is important in that sense of like, okay, to tackle, you got to practice tackling. To me, it's more of Ben Johnson setting up this culture, setting up this program of we're going to do things all the way. This is the intensity that we are demanding. This is the standard we're setting. So I think it's just another glimpse into this culture that Ben Johnson is building. And for me, I'm all for it.
Absolutely. And I think from a player's perspective, when you hear live, it just ratchets everything up a little bit. It's just everything is elevated. I love call-it periods because obviously call-it periods are good too. But when you have a call-it period that's live, you're playing football. That just ratchets everything up, and it's basically like a preseason game environment, except for you're playing with your own teammates and against your defense. Always loved it. Thought that was the closest thing to real football. It's good to have the 7-on-7. It's good to have the third down blitz. It's good to have the base pass, the team run, the 9-on-7, all these different drills. But it's not real football. Real football, you don't know what's coming. It's down and distance related. And like Alex said, you don't get better at tackling by not tackling. You don't get better at breaking tackles by not breaking tackles. It's something that you do need to practice. And I always say I'm a grandpa telling war stories, but back in my day, the best teams that I was on used to play live periods, do a lot. New England, Belichick, yeah, we're playing live. Andy Reid loved live. I still remember the grin on his face every time he'd come out and say, "This is live. This period is live." And we're all like, okay, man, we know, coach, but it's the best way to play football and to practice. And if you need to get the intensity up, your practice isn't going the way you wanted to, throw a live period in there, Alex, and then you'll see the intensity start to rise. Well,
I'm glad you brought that up, Clay, because I think the first day of pads is always a really big deal. I feel like everyone's looking forward to that first day of pads, What are we going to see? We're watching the competition. You can't assess anything until the pads come on. When the pads came on Monday, I was just a little disappointed. Not in what I saw necessarily on the field, but the juice. There was a lack of juice. And I've kind of felt that way a little bit all week, I would say. It was really hot. Like, let's just say it was really humid, really hot on Monday in particular. A little cooler on Tuesday, so I was expecting a little bit more. And I don't know if that also, guys, and I don't know if anyone on, the Bears listens to this podcast, but like how we have struggled a little bit from where our vantage point, right, with the media, it's not easy to see everything. Like, I don't know what the fans can see. Like, if the fans had a better vantage point, there would maybe be more juice from the fans, which would maybe fuel up the players. I'm not saying the players need to rely on the fans, but that is sort of one of the fun parts of training camp is getting the fans involved and engaged, and it fires up the players for sure. So I think there's just sort of been a lack of juice this week, and maybe tomorrow after sort of a lighter day today, I'm not I would imagine the pads go back on tomorrow before they're off on Friday, Saturday practice, Sunday family fest, I believe.
You're right on. You nailed it.
Yeah. So I think there's part of that may be part of the sort of lack of juice, but we'll see as it's also they get more comfortable in the offense, because it's pretty clear they didn't start out very comfortable, right? Like it's gotten better. And I think even today, Alex looked like an NFL football team, right? Like I was looking at it today, like, okay, this is something. They're working stuff here. But I'm looking forward to seeing the pads maybe coming back on after a day like today.
Yeah, it seems like today was kind of a rest and recuperate type of day. Braxton Jones had a rest day. Joe Thuney was out there for individuals and, stuff like that, but he was not participating in the team period. So, it like had that feeling of it's a shorter practice. We're back in the shells and shorts. Some guys are kind of taking it easy. We should also mention, as long as we're talking about it, Jonah Jackson was not out there today. He is officially day-to-day with a leg injury. So Ryan Bates, come on down. Ryan Bates was the starting right guard. And I think you're onto something with the fans also, Ruthie, because that dinged for me in the moment on Tuesday. It was that second pad of practice. As Clay was saying, we were sitting in the fan stands because it had the great view of the team period. And right out the gate, what happens? Caleb Williams hits DJ Moore on an out route. It happens right in front of those stands. Big cheer from the fans. And that kicked things off. That really did kick off that team period. And from then on, it felt like, okay, here we go. Yeah. And the offense, I think that was the best team period they had all training camp, was that period right there. So I think there is something to like that fan energy. It'll be interesting to see at Fan Fest at Soldier Field what kind of energy that brings if they can kind of springboard here, because I also agree with you. Like the first 2 days we were down on the offense because honestly the operation was tough. It was tough. They got a long ways to go, but it's getting better. It's getting better. I think you're right on there. Like you can see the progress. It's still the end of July. We're starting to see the progress. So it'll be interesting to see if some of these higher energy moments can maybe springboard even more progress as they get ready for, September. There's a ways to go as they get ready for September.
I want to talk about a few position battles. Let's start with the most recent, because I think what Dennis Allen said today about the competition at corner is really insightful. Today, there was a bunch of different combinations out there with the ones. Obviously, 𝗵ощan Wright has been the primary fill-in. God bless you, Clay. We got another one? Oh, we're good. Just wanted that. God bless. 𝗵ощan Wright has been the primary fill-in for Jalen Johnson, who we know is out and appears to be out, for the time being. And then they've really pretty much had Tyreek Stevenson up opposite of 𝗵ощan Wright. But today, Alex, we saw other guys getting thrown in there with the ones. And Dennis Allen was asked about it, and he literally told us that competition for the number 2 cornerback is, quote, wide open. So I think there's a lot to take away from that there. And who knows if this is just a way to sort of challenge the guys that are already in there. But I think what Dennis Allen had to say today about the corners tells you a lot about what he's looking for as well.
Clay, you want to kick it off?
Yeah, no. I think that we've been seeing, obviously, 𝗵ощan Wright has been a guy that's been standing out since OTAs. And, like, who is this guy? Is this a rookie? You start to look into him. This guy's played in a number of games, I think over 30 games. And then Nick McLeod was a guy that he mentioned too. And he's a guy that, you've been seeing having some good coverage. I remember yesterday, Caleb threw a ball over Luther Burton's head, and maybe he could have tried to squeeze something in. Alex, like, man, he really sailed that one. I'm like, bro, did you see how Nick McLeod was blanketing him? He looked like his shadow. He was stuck to him. Okay, and then that's just good coverage when you're on one-on-one in a situation like that. So I think both those guys are two guys that nobody expected to really play into this cornerback competition that are really going to get an opportunity to be that starter. Obviously, people thought maybe Tyreek Stevenson, maybe Terrell Smith, and you have been seeing them, but I think 𝗵ощan Wright right now could be the favorite to be the cornerback across from JJ. So be surprised if that's something that happens. He's got tremendous length. This guy is 6'4". He's got good length. He's really fast. I think he plays well in the bump and run, physical type guy. And he could cause some problems because of his size. And then McLeod is a guy that's played 5 years in this league. He's seen a lot of different defenses. He's a guy that can pick up defenses. He's gotten better. Dennis Allen said he just improved. He didn't know how he's going to fit in, but coming back from OTAs, he's just been doing a really good job. So it's one of these position battles that we weren't maybe expecting to get as juicy and to be as contested as it is. But now I think you got legit 4-man battle for one spot, maybe even 5 if Kyler Gordon's in a situation to where when his base package, you move him outside. They've talked about keeping their best 11 on the field. I think Kyler Gordon is part of the best 11. Why do you want to take this guy off the field in base packages? So this could be a 5-man battle for one position of outside corner.
Yeah, and I think it's telling that it wasn't Tyreek Stevenson who came off the field as Nick McCloud moved up with the ones. It was Nahshon Wright who stayed on the field, you know? So we expected this in and out of guys getting more times with the ones. And earlier we saw that Nick McCloud and Terrell Smith were kind of going in together, where it's like, okay, they're giving the entire second unit a chance with the starting defense to see what that looks like. No surprises there. That's a part of the process here. But then today, that it's Nick McCloud out there with Nahshon Wright while Terrell Smith once again goes back with the reserves, I think it's telling. And I was just looking back at my notes. Nick McCloud, when he was signed, I think we expected to be a backup and to be a special teams contributor, right? He's a really good special teams guy, especially in the coverage game. But the first time I wrote him down elevating to that top team was mandatory minicamp 3. So the third day. So it took him a while. It took him a bit to kind of work into that top group, and then we didn't see it a while, but now all of a sudden he's back. So it is interesting, right? There's no depth chart now, and the Bears are going to continue to mix guys in and out. So I hesitate to say Nick McCloud is climbing the depth chart, because I don't think that's quite the right way of saying it. But he's getting more opportunities, right? And that snap count is going up. That rep count is going up. And he's looked good. Today I had him down for another good PBU on a fade. Rome Odunze, fade towards the back of the end zone. Nick McCloud's right there. And Rome Odunze's a big guy. Rome Odunze's a really big guy. So, yeah, I mean, the Bears got kind of a situation here at cornerback. It's really interesting how we had this circled. We had this circled for a long time, CB2. But at least I'll raise my hand and say I got the players wrong. I thought it was going to be Tyreek Stevenson and Terrell Smith kind of battling out. Meanwhile, Nahshon Wright and all of a sudden Nick McCloud have appeared out of nowhere, where this competition might be bigger than we even expected.
Totally agree. It's exciting. That's a juicy one. Clay, I want to get your thoughts before, I know we don't have a ton of time today, but I wanted to get your thoughts on the left tackle battle, because we had a little surprise thrown at us. Obviously, Braxton Jones has been in and out. He looks good when he's in there, but it's hard to know sort of where this coaching staff views him as he still kind of continues this ramp up. Again, wasn't out there today. Some days, he's sort of limited in some capacity. I don't think he was a part of the live tackling portion, guys. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if you remember, Alex. Anyways.
I'm sorry, what was that?
Braxton Jones. Was he a part of the live tackling yesterday?
Oh, I don't remember.
It's not a huge deal, but he is still in this ramp up period. Didn't practice today. It was a scheduled day off, as Alex mentioned. So, but what's going on behind him is really intriguing, Clay, and you had a good viewpoint of it yesterday.
Yeah, I said that I think if you go back to the most improved player on this Bears roster from last year to this year, from what the fans saw, from what we saw, to now coming into training camp, you're putting the pads on. You've been seeing it even in OTAs, minicamp, and now obviously moving into training camp, is Kiran Amegadjie looks like an offensive tackle, and an NFL offensive tackle. Obviously, this guy didn't have OTAs, didn't have training camp last year. He got kind of thrown into the fire. In our first view of this guy, he was just getting beat right and left, 3 penalties, gave up a couple sacks against Minnesota on Monday Night Football. Kind of left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. But coming back, giving this guy a full offseason to work with Dan Rochar, and seeing him in OTAs and minicamp, this guy's gotten better. And he has done a great job. He's going against 𝗵𝗻𝗶𝗹. He's going against some solid players, and he's holding his own. Kiran Amegadjie is, I think, legit in this competition. He's not just a name. Oh, Kiran Amegadjie, he was our 3rd round pick, so we're just going to say he's also there. No, he's a guy that can play. I'm not saying he's the favorite here. I thought Braxton Jones in the I don't know if it was a live tackling drill, but it was full go padded football, looked really good. I thought Braxton had a great day on pads yesterday. He looked good. He looked like his ankle was fine. He was delivering a blow in the run game. His pass sets were good. He looked like he had an anchor. 𝗁cie looks solid too. 𝗁cie looks like it doesn't look like a rookie. This guy does not look like, I've seen rookie tackles before. This guy does not look like a rookie left tackle. He's got an anchor. He's big. He did get beat once by 𝗵𝗻𝘃, who had a sweet move. I want to see more of that from 𝗵𝗻 because 𝗵𝗻 hasn't done much besides that. He kind of goes this little rip underneath. He beat 𝗁cie with speed, and then Kyle Monangai was there. He kind of tossed Kyle Monangai out the way. But 𝗁cie's looks good. Kiran's looked good. And Braxton has looked good. So right now, I'd probably say Braxton is where you put the money on him to be your starter because he's looked like he's coming off his ankle injuries. Obviously, you're still ramping up a little bit. Then it's probably split between 𝗁cie and Kiran. I could see either one of those guys being the 2 right now, and they said they want to name a starter sooner or later. I can't really seem to separate them. I think this is good for the Bears. Can I say that the Bears have depth at tackle? Could I say that?
Whoa, dude. Easy.
I know. I know. It's
Unreal.
crazy. It's crazy to me too.
Really, yeah, that's the best case scenario. Also brought up today, Alex, and let us know when you got to bounce, but also brought up today was the defensive end look situation. Dennis Allen commenting on that. I didn't get the sense that he's the most enthusiastic about his situation at defensive end. Did you guys take anything different from what Dennis Allen had to say today?
I think so. The pass rush looks good, and I think that reading between the lines, it's like
he says that it looks good.
Yeah, but we've also seen the manufacturing pass rush, right? He's been really aggressive with the linebackers. He's been aggressive with the safeties. So I think it might be a little bit of a holistic pass rush situation. I am interested in what 𝗏𝗏 𝗏𝗀 can bring to the table because he was a late addition, right? He's playing catch up here. And this is a guy who has experience with Dennis Allen's defense over the past, I want to say 4 seasons. This guy who Ryan Poles knows. Ryan Poles drafted when I want to say he was involved with the college scouting in 2017, back with the Chiefs when he was a 2nd round draft pick. So there are some fingerprints on 𝗏𝗏 with this team. And today was the day where I noticed him, where I was like, oh, that was a 𝗏𝗏 𝗏𝗏 win. So we'll see where that goes. But I'm kind of with Clay, where 𝗏𝗏 hasn't flashed so much. Not seeing a ton from Dom Robb or Austin Booker. The one guy who I think is flashing a little bit more, and it's the guy who needs to flash more, Montez Sweat. I've actually seen him creating some havoc. He's pressuring Caleb Williams. Sacks are super subjective, super subjective at training camp, but he's definitely harassed Caleb Williams a ton. So work in progress, but we'll see where it goes. And with that, I actually am going to bail now, but the 2 of you can take it away from here.
Clay, I just wanted one more thing that I think if we have time, we can just sort of hit on Caleb Williams, who spoke today as well. The overarching theme that I got from him was confidence in where he is. And this is someone who gets up at the podium, Clay, and always exudes confidence. So I don't know if there's a ton really that is different. Caleb always, to me, is the same guy when he gets up there. But for him to be asked about the challenges of playing under center and saying there are no challenges, and for him to talk about the motions and the shifts and learning that part of the offense and say, no, it's all smooth. It's good right now. For him to kind of come up there at the podium and speak the way he did after what didn't look so good to start from the people who were there. What did you think of what Caleb Williams said today and sort of his approach at this phase after 7 practices?
Yeah. I'm going to give my quick 2 cents on the defensive end.
Did you not get to chime in there? I'm sorry.
No, just, yeah. Alex did a great job of saying it. I mean, I holistically agree with everything he said. Tano is a guy that they brought in. He's an 8-year vet. He said 16 career sacks. He's a guy, he seems like a big guy that could be a stout run defender. 𝗏𝗏𝗋𝗋, I know we're early in camp, and I'm not trying to raise fire alarms here, but he's a guy that really hasn't stood out to me. Going against these left tackles, it seems like to me that he's been getting handled by Braxton. He's been getting handled by Kiran and 𝗏𝗏𝗋𝗋. All three of these guys just taking turns handling them, So I think he's got to show a little bit more. Austin Booker, I love his athleticism and his speed. He's a guy that seems like to me he's got like all the tools, but for some reason he's not getting there. He's not getting to the quarterback. He's not getting past the ends or the offensive tackles, but he does have some tools. So I think that's something that maybe we could see him work on. He could get there, but I don't know if it'll be this season. Montez Sweat has looked good. Looked like he's coming in with a chip on his shoulder, so to speak. So I think this is a position that could, especially if somebody goes down, if Montez Sweat goes down, you are in a world of hurt. We know he was playing injured last year, but D-end is definitely a position to which I'm a little bit concerned because Dio hasn't looked like a guy that's getting paid as the 19th best edge rusher in football. And then Caleb, yeah, Ruthie, you said it. Last year, Caleb Williams played 70 snaps under center in the whole season. In 17 games, he played 70 snaps. And last year, in Detroit, Ben Johnson, Jared Goff, had 217 pass attempts under center as opposed to just 70 total snaps under center for Caleb Williams. So for Caleb to say that he's getting it, he's understanding it, that's good. It's something he hasn't done before, but you like to hear it. To me, something that I thought was a little bit under the radar, I forget who asked the question, but they asked Caleb about getting to the line of scrimmage and how important that is for him. And Caleb's like, that's huge. It's huge for me. It's huge for the offensive line so we can identify the fronts. And they've really put an emphasis on that this year. And I think that's something that is absolutely huge for everybody on the offense. I know me as a tight end, when we got to the line of scrimmage and we only had a couple seconds left before we snapped the ball, you're just kind of focused on what you're doing. You can't really figure out, okay, what's this defense doing? Who's lined up against me, and really see what your matchups are, what coverage you're going to get, so you can kind of get the little clues to help you be successful in a play. When you get there early, you can start diagnosing things. You can start diagnosing the safeties, the matchups. Okay, there's a linebacker on Colson Loveland. Okay, we got nickelbacks playing outside. So you start to break things down. More time for motions and shifts. And I'll go back to my time in New England. I remember going from Jacksonville to where maybe Blake Bortles calling a play sounds like this, Ruthie. He's like, green right, 373, Y stick, X go, kill, 34 zone, sift on one. Ready, break, right? You go to the line of scrimmage. Tom Brady, green right, 373, Y stick, X go on one, ready, break. And I'm like, what is this? I go, is this guy an auctioneer? Tom would call plays like an auctioneer as quick as possible so he could get out the huddle. Then he has the opportunity to look and see what the defense is presenting him with. So now he knows he's getting the clues, the little cheat codes to where he knows where he's going to go with the football. And now you get a chance to shift a guy here, motion a guy here. Guess what? That breaks down a defense. They can't disguise if you shift in motion. All these disguises and things they do, you shift in motion, you break out of that, and now you get to see. That's just showing a maturity level that you are getting better and starting to understand the game more. So that was something that I really like to hear from Caleb.
Oh, that's great, Clay. I mean, that's great context, kind of going from those two different. And obviously, Caleb, like, he's trying to remember the play call too as he spits it back out to the guys in the huddle. Tom, it's like his language. Tom might have been calling the plays at one point, you know what I mean? So I think there's like an element of, okay, let me get comfortable. I'll get to the line when I get to the line, but I got to make sure my guys know where they're going and I know that I'm telling them the right thing. Now, once he can kind of understand the mechanics of the operation, he's at the line, he can attack the defense and take his time once he's at the line of scrimmage. That's really interesting. It's a perspective. I feel like you really like put that into context and made me visualize it a little easier.
And the other thing I liked was him talking about now when you can almost hear the beginning of a play and then you kind of know what the play call is. And that's when you know it's starting to flow for you. You really learn to know the playbook. Because sometimes I'd be in the play and I'd know our game plan so well. Once you get into the season, at least, you break down the game plan. You have these tight game plans. Right now, you're drinking through a fire hose, Ruthie. You're trying to take in a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So take a shot every time you hear that.
Yeah.
And get into the game plan. Sometimes all you have to hear formation, and then sometimes for me, formation, shift, motion. Okay, I know what it is, but then obviously you're listening. But you start. It just comes so quick that you almost don't even have to hear the whole play.
That goes back to Ben Johnson's initial press conference where he said the quarterback needs to see the game in the eyes of the play caller. And that's what he means, right? You should be anticipating Ben Johnson's next play call. You should know each other so well that you know what's coming next so that you can, rattle things off, and and that's Caleb talked about that too. We got to get to the point where we're not thinking so hard. We want to just play. But right now they're thinking hard, and that's okay. It's practice number 7. So the one other thing, Clay, that stood out to me was Caleb was asked, it is pouring outside right now, by the way. The other thing, at least where I am, the other thing that stood out to me today that I wanted to touch on was Caleb Williams was asked about, because Ben Johnson was asked earlier in training camp about the carryover from year 1 to year 2. And Ben said, I don't see a ton of carryover. And I think that sort of got taken a bit out of context in the way that it was interpreted by some fans, because I think what Ben meant there is our offense is so different and the scheme is so different and the way I want him to operate is so different. But I don't think when Caleb answered that question today, I think there was more context to it, because he said well, I did learn a lot about how the NFL works last year. I learned a lot about just what it means to play quarterback in the NFL. And I played 17 games and I saw a lot of different things. And now I can be a better leader. I can be better because I'm not learning things for the first time about my routine or my, he didn't say it like this. I'm just sort of inferring from what I heard from Caleb today. He sort of learned what it means to play quarterback at the NFL level that last year. Now he can really embody all of what it means to be a quarterback in terms of taking that next step, comfortability with his teammates, taking guys out to dinner, staying after, and throwing with guys that he didn't, connect well with at practice. Just little things. It feels like he's able to take that next leadership step in year 2. And I think that's something that stood out to me today, because is in the context of what Ben said prior to that there isn't a lot of carryover from year 1 to year 2. I don't think that means that Caleb didn't learn anything in year 1.
Oh yeah. And I can speak on this because, I've been a guy who's played for a lot of teams. And even if you're going from system to system, there's a lot of things that are universal as far as playing football and coverages for one. You might have different names for things, but there's not much that's just super different. There's a couple different names. When I went from offense to defense, in Philly, they tried to move me to defense. Felt like I was learning a different language. It's hard, right?
Yeah.
I never played defense in my life. The stuff didn't make sense. But when you go from a different system, there's a lot of things you can marry together. And there's nothing that beats the experience of being out there. How if you can fit a ball in a certain hole, how much time you have to get rid of the football now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many things that even though you are not in the same system, that playing football in the NFL for an entire season, 17 games, you're going to improve no matter what, because now you know what to expect. Going in, no clue what to expect. My rookie year, man, I remember watching film. I went back a couple times when I was more of a vet, watched my rookie year. I'm like, wow, I can't believe I actually did that. But when you're playing football in college, sometimes you're just a better athlete than these guys. Don't have to worry about your steps, pad leverage. For me at Missouri State and FCS school, I could just out-muscle guys in the blocking game. Then you try to go up against 𝗻_Marcus Ware with that same technique. Next thing you know, you get thrown 5-6 yards in the backfield. And you say, okay, I can't do that here. Okay. So there's a lot of things that Caleb's going to learn, even though he's not in the same system. That experience is, you can't even put into words how much that helps. If you're a rookie, versus if you played 17 games, you know what to expect. You've played in these stadiums. You know what the routine is. You know how the pregame works. You know how the travel works. You know how the practice schedule works. So there's just so many things that you'll learn, even though you don't think about those things, that will make you play better when it comes to Sunday.
Clay Harbor, great stuff. We will be back out there again this week and this weekend, and we'll continue to update you here on the Charter as needed. So thank you so much for tuning in to the Charter Podcast, brought to you by St. Xavier University. Alex Shapiro, Clay Harbor, I'm Ruthie Polinsky. We'll see you next time.